Welcome to Shatter Our Souls with Novaria. We are entering the final lap of the Mario Kart Double Dash Itemless Challenge, which is, of course, Mirror Mode. Just to clarify a couple rules before we start today's round off, all races must be done without the intentional use of an item. This includes, but not limited to, throwing bananas, using any form of mushrooms or shells, you name it. If it's in our hand, it stays on our hand unless acted upon by an outside force, such as a bomb. With that very simplistic rule set in mind, we are heading to the Special Cup of Mario Kart Double Dash and Wario's Coliseum. Now, I had mentioned in the past that the mirror mode in general is by far one of the most unique, albeit kind of wonky, ways to increase a game's lifespan. I don't think it needs to be necessarily said, but by flipping every single course or inverting left and right on every single course, you effectively allow your players to have double the number of courses, effectively, without actually needing to do all that much work to do it. This is a really easy way to do or to increase the amount of courses you can get. And it's why I think that mirror mode is, or should be, standard in virtually all kart racers in any capacity, because unless it is something like a, what's the word? I believe it's something that can add a lot more to a game than it ever took away. I'll start with that. But be that as it may, Mario Kart Double Dash has 16 courses. Each of these 16 courses you play through a minimum of 4 times prior to getting Mirror Mode. In reality, it's more like 16. No, not quite 16. It's 8. You play through each track a minimum of 8 times before you reach Mirror Mode. At that point, your muscle memory is really starting to set in. And what was, at one point, something that was considered something relatively easy, can, on rare occasions, become incredibly difficult. Take Wario's Coliseum, for example. Every single turn is well telegraphed to the player. But because the course itself is inverted, the driving lines and muscle memory that I've developed over the last 8 runs of the game are gone. Effectively, I have to play through everything knowing full well that I am not at my peak performance. That every single course that I play through is going to be questionable at best. That the game itself is fighting back to keep every last bit of ground that it has. And I can't help but respect it for that. Anywho, with that, we are entering the second race of the Special Cup in what looks like 4th place at the moment. Not exactly a very stellar start, and might mean Really? Really? Now you give me the blue shell? Oy vey. So, if I were to rank this particular course as far as where it stands within the Special Cup, I believe the Special Cup would be quite simple. The Wario Coliseum would be the best. Second would be the Bowser's Castle. Third, Rainbow Road. And fourth, Dino Jungle. Now don't get me wrong, Dino Jungle is a good course. It is perfectly serviceable and reasonable as a kart racer course. However, when you put it up against behemoths that are the rest of the game, or rather the rest of this specific cup, it kind of becomes a little more forgettable by comparison. I'm sorry, you made me drop my chain chomp. I was looking forward to having Chompy race with us today. Anyways, one thing I am noticing just getting into mirror mode is that 150cc was like, it tried to beat up the player a little bit. It tried to keep you at bay. But mirror mode does it in such a way that is significantly more than the prior games, or than the prior cups ever got close to. That is kind of a curiosity circumstance to me. I didn't realize that the Green Stash squad was going to have to struggle through mirror mode quite as much as it does. And if I'm being honest, I believe truthfully that the courses that I will struggle the most with overall, as far as the overall difficulty, Star Cup is going to be probably my worst, Special my second worst, Mushroom is probably going to be the best because there's not a whole lot of nuance to a lot of those courses, leaving Flower kind of somewhere in the middle. That's my expectations anyways. But, who knows? Maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. Oh, cool. I thought I just lost there. That's good. So, yeah, what else can we say about this lovely cup? I think the reason that Dino Jungle doesn't hold up as well as its rivals, as the other courses within the reason I believe it doesn't hold up as well as the other courses within the Special Cup is simply due to the fact that it is somewhat more simplistic nature. It's not as twisty, it's not as needlessly complex as the other courses are. And while the set pieces are reasonably cool, it doesn't necessarily leave a lot for the imagination to run wild with, because effectively everything's already sorted by the time you get. Anyways, 2 tracks down, 4th and 2nd, meaning that we are sitting in 2nd place, 6 points behind 1st. Which would mean, theoretically, we would have to ace both courses going forward. So, let's hit my second favorite course in this particular cup, Bowser's Castle. Now, Bowser's Castle, I've always said, is one that kind of sets the bar pretty high. Now, going back into the older Mario Karts, I recently got my hands on a copy of 64. And I have to say that while Mario Kart 64 had a decent Bowser's Castle, like, it wasn't anything to write home about, but it was definitely something that kept me on my toes. This Bowser's Castle has always remained the gold standard for me. It's... how do I want to word this? It's trying to be open-ended, it's trying to let the player do what they need to do, but it's also has traps and set pieces that make the entire game ready to go. Yeah, no. It has traps and set pieces that set it apart from the rest of the game. It has more than enough that makes it unique, comparable to its alternative characters, other courses, etc. The fact that you are effectively forced to ride on the side of the walls down hallways, dodge fireballs, fire bars, and even the flame-spitting Bowser on top of the other racers make this a perhaps more complex than average course, and yet one that I always look forward to playing. Anywho, I gotta say, I find it funny that I got this. So, when I go through this, I actually pick the characters and carts randomly. Just, you know, hit the button and off we go, right? Somehow I got Green Stash and Baby Green Stash. So Eternal Player 2 and my brother gave me an unplugged controller characters. And, I got to say, I couldn't have asked for a better duo. One thing I think that a lot of people kind of gravitated towards when it came to Luigi is that Luigi is a character who is a little bit more of a scaredy cat. He isn't as upfront and personal as his brother is. He doesn't ooze that confidence that Mario does. And yet, despite his fear, he goes through and does everything alongside his brother all the time. And it makes him more of a courageous character than he is a scaredy cat, at least in my opinion. What really makes Luigi the best in my opinion comes down to the fact that for a long time I was the Luigi. So for me, the taller and really I missed the shortcut 3 times in a row. Ugh. Like I said, messes with your muscle memory. I was the Luigi for a long time growing up, and so for me, getting to play as Luigi feels right. And maybe that's not the same for everybody, but yeah. So that is now 3 courses down, 1 to go, and we just passed first place, meaning that insofar as we get in first place, maybe even second, we may still have a chance at coming out on top for Rainbow Road. Now, Rainbow Road, as I said, is third for this particular batch of tracks. There's some things it does really well. Examples of it doing things well include the early turns. What they're effectively meant to do is kind of set an early standings. The players are then forced to try to push and use items to try to get higher up those standings as quickly as possible. Oh yeah, double red shell dodge. But when you reach the spiral, effectively all players should be in their quote-unquote defined locations, and the boosts give a nice added touch where a highly skilled player can hit every single one of them without too much of an issue. But are something that we'll go with somebody who hasn't played the track all too often will not necessarily be able to pull off. So there's the first major start up there. You of course have the cannon, as well as a couple jumps, couple more spirals, and you're done, right? This course also has some of the weirdest relationship with barriers out of any course in all of Mario Kart, with some sections having barriers rather consistently, and others having open ledges where there shouldn't be, specifically to reinforce the standings that are supposed to be set right from the very beginning. So, right now, it looks like the bottom 3 racers have fallen quite a ways behind. Actually, most of the racers have fallen behind us, so that's a good thing. But overall, it looks like we're pretty well okay. I don't foresee any major issue coming up, but I think what makes the barrier problem of this particular course so notable is the fact that barriers are meant to keep the player safe, and of course, the fewer barriers you have, the less safe your player is supposed to be. The more that it punishes the player's lack of control over their vehicle. This is supposed to be effectively the ultimate test. And it does show it. It does showcase itself as a harder course for a reason. But we are human and are nothing but consistent in many cases. So why this particular track ends up becoming so low down just comes to personal taste more than anything, I guess. There are some who would say this course is much higher. There are some that will say it's much lower. But I often end up playing with people that like to kick, punch, and whatnot, which throws off my drifts, which makes all the twists and turns and the more difficult sections of the course all the harder to get through just as a result of the game is built in a specific way and I'm trying to work around it. Anywho, with that, it looks like nobody can catch up. No items have been thrown. And we're looking pretty okay. So, with that, the Double Dash Special Cup Mirror Mode Challenge, well, Itemless Challenge, is now officially, quote-unquote, mission complete. There are still 4 more cups to go, with Mushroom, Star, Flower, and last but certainly not least, the All Cup Tour to look forward to. So if you like what you see, drop a like, leave a subscribe, be good to one another, and I hope you all have a good one. Okay, with 1 down, the other 4 shouldn't be too bad, right? It's not like it's going to tear me a new one again. Anywho.